Hello my beautiful people, how are you? It's January and it's snowing outside, it's cold, and I'm here in my favorite sweater with my cup of coffee. And what is the most logical thing a person might do in January? A person who loves books. Buy new books, of course. Or search for books to read and to get new inspiration for exploring new books. And this is what I did. And as I was searching for new books to read, I stumbled across an article by Penguin in which they predicted the most anticipated reads of 2025. This means that these novels have yet to come out, but when we read them, we will have a fabulous time. And so I thought that I might as well trust the experts being Penguin Books, and share with you what they think about the year of 2025. We have a packed year of books ahead of us because in this article they have 29 new books and they are separated into two piles. The first pile is fiction and the second pile is non-fiction. So I'm going to go through all of them, share with you my impressions and how excited I am to read a certain book. Yeah, I think we're going to have a really fun time. So the first book on their list in the fiction pile is We Do Not Part by Han Kang. I've never heard about this author. Yeah, I wonder what this book is about, so let's just read the synopsis. A tender poignant read, We Do Not Part is the latest English translated book by South Korean author and 2024 Nobel Literature Prize winner Han Kang. Against the harsh backdrop of winter, Kyunga travels to the remote forests of Korea's Jeju Island, tasked with defeating her injured friend Min-seon's pet bird while she remains in hospital. Kyunga soon discovers, however, that she's housed in a place filled with memories of a horrific past. That sounds so exciting. It's out on the 6th of February, and let me tell you, on the 6th of February, you will find me in front of my laptop ordering this book. This sounds so interesting, and you know me, you know I love the feeling of nostalgia and the books that talk about memory and how past affects our present. And so for me, this is really interesting to see how this book will approach such topic. The next book on their list is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And let me make a confession, I haven't read any of her books. I know she was big on social media. Everyone talked about her and everyone talked about how fabulous she is, but somehow I never managed to lay my hand on her book. And maybe in 2025 I will, and maybe this book will become my first book of hers. So let's read the synopsis. Taylor Jenkins Reid is known for transporting readers to another world, be that a 1970s tour bus in Daisy Jones and the Six, or the glittering 1950s Hollywood of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Her latest novel goes a step further. It is a love story set among the stars as a cohort of astronauts embark on a 1984 space shuttle mission and question their place in the world. This book is out on the 3rd of June, and you know what this reminds me of? This new TV show with Scarlett Johansson and the actor I forgot the name of. Anyway, this just reminds me of this book because there are two people working in a space industry and they fall in love. I don't know, I haven't watched this TV show actually, but people say it's not that good. And I heard it flopped at the box office. Anyway, I'm rambling, we're here to talk about books. This sounds exciting. I'm not a person who's really into love stories and I do not like cheesy romance books. I don't. But when the book is good, I can appreciate that. So maybe I'll buy this one, maybe I'll read it, and maybe I'll be blown away. Next book on their list is We All Live Here by Jojo Moyes. I've never heard of this author. I guess she writes romance books. Maybe that's why I haven't heard of her, just because I'm not really interested in that field. This is a story of a family in crisis, told with Jojo Moyes' trademark warmth, wit, and emotional depth. Matriarch Leila Kennedy is still processing her divorce. Her stepfather Bill has unofficially moved in. Sally, her eldest, is skipping school. Violet, her youngest, is running wild. Then Leila's estranged father Jeannie turns up on her doorstep. But will he save the family or cause it to splinter for good? This book is out on February 11th, and I think this will be a perfect Christmas time read because when you sit on a couch, you just want to be tangled world, into this world of family drama. You know what I mean? This book, just by its cover, reminds me of the book called Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I don't know if it's similar. I don't know if the writing is similar, but I really loved Little Fires Everywhere. It's also about family. In fact, two families of different social classes, different pasts, yet somehow intertwined. And it's very interesting because you witness all of this drama. As much as it is dramatic and filled with poison that gets to the two families and gossips of a little small town, it's really heartwarming, and you get to cherish all of the simplicity of family life. And if this has the same vibe as Little Fires Everywhere, I'm definitely reading that. But because I haven't heard of the Jamoyes, I can't tell anything. For me, this is also a waiting list. But so far, based on what I read, it's going to be interesting and it's going to be dramatic. And I'm always here for the drama. For the next book, I am so excited. I'm so excited. It is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. New book by Ocean Vuong. The year has only begun and we are already blessed. We are off to a good start. Let me tell you, we are off to a good start. I cannot wait. This book comes out on the 15th of May. I don't know how long it will take me to order it. I don't know when will I get it, but I will get my hands on it. So let's read the synopsis. Critically acclaimed author Ocean Vuong is known for his tender, heartbreaking prose that reads like poetry, as seen in his best-selling novel On Earth We're Brutally Gorgeous. God, I miss this book so much. I think about this book more than I have to, but I think about this book it just warms my soul. In his latest book, a depressed teenager and an elderly widow develop a life-altering bond forged by empathy, heartbreak, and feeling like outsiders in the post-industrial town. This is an epic story about love, loneliness, and the magic of second chances. Oh, this is really interesting. Oh my god, I'm hooked. Is it what I think it is? Do we have a romance happening between his teenager and a widow? We have mummy issues? I don't know. That sounds so captivating to me. Oh my god, I'm ordering it. I definitely am going to order it. The next book is by Holly Jackson and it's called Not Quite Dead Yet. And when I see the word dead in the title of a book, I think of murder mystery. And you know, I'm a fan of murder mysteries. I loved Agatha Christie and I've read most of the contemporary murder mysteries that you can find. I've read a lot of Stephen King. I've read a lot of Kate Atkinson. I also read Gillian Flynn. And actually when I was about 13 years old, my favorite book was The Sharp Object. We won't talk about that. We won't talk about the trauma, but I love that book. I love that book. I remember I was on my spring break and I read this book in one day. I love the hell out of the book. All of this to say, I know my jams. I can tell if the murder mystery is good. And I enjoy sometimes a good murder mystery. So if I'm going to be hooked by the synopsis, I might as well order that book and have a fun time. Holly Jackson is one of the biggest names writing mysteries, thanks to her bestseller A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. In Not Quite Dead Yet, her first adult mystery, 27-year-old heiress Jad Mason has been attacked and with just 7 days left to live, hopes to solve her own murder. As with Jackson's other books, expect corkscrew, can't pronounce that word. Corkscrew twists, complex motives, and a heroine you will root for. It's out on the 17th of July, and you know, it'll be summer holidays. So far, I'm hooked, especially because the character is solving their own murder, and I kind of love that plotline. I don't know, but it can be done beautifully in a very balanced out way, but it also can be done very blankly and it can be deceiving. So that's why this book is also on my waiting list. I don't know about this. I think I'm going to read another book of hers before I'm going to read this one, but if I'm going to like it, I'm going to order this one. The next book is The Midnight Carousel by Fiza Said Macklin. And it says here that it is historical fiction. I love a good historical fiction book. I'm into history. This is one of my favorite classes in school. And so reading a good historical fiction book can be a great way to educate yourself, but just not in a very traditional way, you know? So I'm definitely interested in historical fiction, although I know that you have to be very objective towards it. Like, it's not going to tell you the history facts, and if you want to know more about a history fact or event, you have to check the official sources. But if you want to just have a fun time discovering the period of a certain century, for example, you might as well go and read a good historical fiction. So yeah, this is where I stand on that, and let's read the synopsis. This historical fiction debut flits between Paris at the turn of the 20th century, where a carousel maker channels his grief into a dangerous new creation, and 1920s Chicago, where a woman in search of a new life comes across a beautiful carousel. What she doesn't know is that it was linked to multiple disappearances, and that history is about to repeat itself in this tale of obsession, revenge, and enduring love. This book is out on the 24th of April, and I'm going to order it because I am in for a good historical fiction book, and that synopsis sounded fabulous. So this is definitely the book that I'm going to put on the list right beside Ocean Vuong's book. The next book is Open Heaven by Sean Hewitt. The synopsis reads, "It's hard to believe that this bittersweet coming-of-age story is a debut novel." Oh my god, we have a debut novel out here. Sean Hewitt elegantly depicts the transformational power of first love in this tale of two boys who meet on the cusp of adulthood. James, who dreams of a life away from his tiny village and small-minded parents, and Luke, who harbors his desires and insecurities beneath a confident exterior. As the relationship evolves, their lives are further altered. This book is also going to come out on the 24th of April, and as I said, I'm not that into romance books, so we'll have to see about that one. The 8th book on this list is Firstborn of the Sun by Marvelous Michael Anson. And let me tell you, where do I get that name? Where do I sign up to get a name like this? Imagine having a name like this. In this Yoruba-inspired fantasy, everyone in Oro can harness the power of the sun. Everyone that is apart from Lore. She has concealed this her whole life, even from her best friend Alawani. But when Alawani faces death at the hands of the Holy Order, Lore discovers she possesses the icy shadow magic of another kingdom. Fleeing capture, Lore and Alawani seek out this faraway place and learn the unsettling truth about their homeland. This book is out on the 23rd of October, and by this time we'll be approaching 2026, which is crazy to think about, so we're not going to. And I guess this book is a fantasy. I'm not sure I'm going to read it because I actually was into fantasy when I was 11 years old or so, and I kind of read a lot of it and then I lost all of the interest in it. So I'm not in this era in my life right now. Very improbable that I'm going to order that book and read that book in 2025. Next book on the list is When the Cranes Fly South by Lisa Regent. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. This poignant novel was named the Swedish Book of the Year for 2024. It revolves around Bo, an elderly man becoming increasingly frail who relies on his home care team and his dog for company. But when his estranged son insists on taking the dog, Bo is forced to reckon with his past, including the choices he made as a parent. Can he mend his relationships before it's too late? This book is out on the 15th of May, and you know I love a good book about reconciling with your past and finding ways to change within yourself. I think a good book that can portray the instability of human relationships, the dynamics of human relationships within themselves. These books are really precious, and I'm always into a good heartfelt story about old people. I don't know. I just love it. I think this book has the same vibes as books by Mitch Albom. I've read some of his books. I've read Tuesdays with Morrie and I've read For One More Day, and if you ask me, For One More Day was the best of them all, to me at least. Tuesdays with Morrie didn't really do it for me, but maybe this was because I read it after I read For One More Day, and I think Mitch Albom is that one author that you have to read when you are stuck, because when you're doing great, his books sound to you like regular things, like the things you don't even have to really write about. And I think Mitch Albom is an author that you have to read, of course, but he's one of those authors that you have to approach from the point of view of a pupil, per se, and he's your mentor. So yeah, if I'm correct about this book and it is similar to For One More Day, I think I will love it. The 10th book on this list is Favorites by Lainey Fargo, and it's out on the 16th of January, which means that it's already out or going to be out pretty soon by the time I upload this video. Let's read the synopsis. Katarina and Heath were childhood sweethearts bonded by their intense chemistry and ambition in the high-octane world of figure skating. They made a formidable team on the ice until a shocking event at the Olympics destroyed their careers. A documentary made 10 years later charts their dramatic rise and fall in this modern retelling of Wuthering Heights that is perfect for fans of Daisy Jones and the Six. As I said, I haven't read Daisy Jones and the Six. I was not a fan of Wuthering Heights. I don't like Wuthering Heights actually all that much. I think it's a pretty good classic, but I do not consider it iconic. I much prefer Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. So this one is definitely not for me. No. The next book is Sunstruck by William Rayford Hunter, and it's out on the 15th May. A lot of books come out in May. The debut novel, which won the 2022 Murky Books New Writers Prize, follows a young man as he joins his university friend Lily in her family's holiday mansion and falls for Lily's handsome, charismatic brother Felix. Oh wow. But as they return to London, he and Felix will have to face their demons and make choices with far-reaching implications. Even the title reminds me of Saltburn. Sunstruck, Saltburn. And because Saltburn was inspired by Brideshead Revisited, but also by Mr. Ripley, we have similar vibes here. And I love the talented Mr. Ripley, and I love the Brideshead Revisited by Eileen Vaughn. As I said, I'm not into romance, but this book sounds pretty interesting. Waiting list. The 12th book on this list is Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. This is a completely new author to me. I haven't heard of her, but let's read the synopsis. 20 years ago, the Freemans, one of the few black families in their Connecticut neighborhood, were rocked by tragedy after a home invasion. Now an adult, Abby Freeman has escaped to France to grieve her engagement that ended abruptly. When she bumps into her ex-fiancé and his new girlfriend, she's forced to reckon with her past, including the significance of what she and her family lost all those years ago. That sounds very interesting. It's out on the 6th of February, and this kind of reminds me of what Toni Morrison could have written about. So if this is anywhere close to Toni Morrison's prose, I'm in. However, again, this plotline is very easy to be deceived by and to be disappointed in, so it has to be done with balance. The 13th book on this list is Death at a White Heart by Chris Chibnall, and it's out on the 27th of March. In a sleepy Dorset village, a pub landlord's body has been discovered. Everyone is hiding something, from the local farmer to the young girl in the playground, but who's the killer? This gripping debut crime novel from Broadchurch creator Chris Chibnall has a trademark suspense, small-town intrigue, and dubious characters we love about his work on screen, and already counts Lee Child, Sherry Lapina, and Gillian McAllister among its fans. I don't know any of these people. Who is Chris Chibnall and what is Broadchurch? Either way, I didn't hear of him. I don't know what Broadchurch is. And that's a difficult thing with detectives and murder mysteries. You can't really tell from the synopsis what's going to happen and whether the book is good or not. Because basically, they can't tell you everything because that's murder mystery. You have to figure it all by yourself. And so they can give you very little information, and much of that information is pretty much the same. Because this is a classic murder mystery. Like, we have witnesses such as farmer and a little girl. We have a victim victim who was murdered brutally, and we have an innocent person who is being accused, and everybody is living in this small little village and everyone is gossiping. So in all of the murder mysteries, you have pretty much the same scenery, same plot lines, and it all depends on the writer, who is capable of twisting and turning this tale and transforming this tale into something new and into something unexpected and special. Based on this synopsis, I can't really tell if this author is good or not, especially because it's his debut novel. So I really doubt that I'm going to order it. Yeah, this is all I gotta say on this one. The next book is Voices of the Fallen Heroes by Yukio Mishima. Oh, and it's actually a collection of short stories. These short stories originally written in the 1960s. So this is not a new book. By Yukio Mishima, one of Japan's most influential writers, are not exactly new. However, this is the first time they have been translated into English. Oh wow, this is exciting. With tales combining autobiographical details, the obsessive fan who broke into Mishima's home. What? With pure horror, the writer seized by apocalyptic visions, this is a timely and captivating collection that marks the 100th anniversary of Mishima's birth. Oh my god, I'm pre-ordering it right this moment. Oh my god, this is fabulous. And it's out on the 16th of January, so if this year you're going to see me talk about this book, you know I bought it, you know I ordered it, you know I read it. I can tell this is going to be a great reading experience. The next book is Nova Scotia House by Charlie Porter. Johnny Grant was 19 years old when he fell in love with 45-year-old Jerry Field. Huh? 3 decades later, Johnny is left with a flattened memories they shared and stories from Jerry's youth before the AIDS crisis. As he recalls Jerry's tales of love, freedom, queer joy, and community, Johnny resolves to restore the radical ways of life that could otherwise be lost forever. This book is out on the 20th of March. And it sounds pretty good. Honestly, I might buy it. Educate myself on the AIDS crisis. Again, I don't know this writer. I haven't heard of the most writers on this list, but I think this is going to be a great read. The next book is Sweat by Emma Healy. When they were together, Liam pushed Cassie to the limits of her physical fitness in what became a controlling relationship. Now, 2 years after their breakup, Cassie is thriving as a personal trainer and Liam has come back into her life in an unexpected way. She suddenly holds the power and it's her turn to push Liam to breaking point. This is an inventive new novel from the best-selling author of Elizabeth is Missing. This book is out on the 30th of January and I don't know if I'm going to read it. I'm not exactly hooked. As I said, I'm not into romance. Next book is 3 Days in June by Anne Tyler. The cover looks pretty. I'm the one who judges books by their covers and the cover is pretty. On the eve of her daughter Debbie's wedding, Gail is facing a perfect storm. She has just lost her job and now her ex-husband has showed up unannounced with a cat no less. Then a startling revelation about Debbie's husband to be casts new light on their past. Multi-award winner Anne Tyler Slade's novel explores the complexity of life, love, and relationships with trademark heart and humor. Oh, and there's an extract available, so I will read this extract later, but so far, after reading the synopsis, I think about ordering this one, and I think about reading this one because, as I said, I love a good family drama story. If it is good written, and if it is gossipy and juicy, I will read it. And it is out on the 13th of February, so it's out pretty soon. The 18th book and the last book in the fiction pile is By Your Side by Ruth Johns. Gavin and Stacy, co-creator Ruth Johns, has also earned a loyal fan base thanks to her beautiful life-affirming novels. Her latest follows Linda Standish, who tracks down the living relatives of those who have died alone. This takes Linda and her work nemesis to a remote Scottish island where they must piece together a man's final years. Along the way, they meet eccentric characters and find joy in unexpected places. This synopsis is pretty vague. The idea that a person searches for relatives of people who died alone is pretty captivating and interesting in of itself, but if it's going to be turned out a very cheesy and blank romance book, sacrificing the aspect of loneliness of those who died alone and this plotline of searching for relatives, I think it might be disappointing. Might as well read it. Then we have 10 books in the the pile of nonfiction. The first book in the nonfiction pile is Red Pockets by Alice Ma. In Red Pockets, writer and academic Alice Ma returns to her ancestral village in South China to visit the forgotten graves of her forebears. She reflects on the places she has lived, from post-industrial England to rugged Scotland. Ma contends with eco-anxiety and a crisis of spiritual belief. This haunting blend of memoir and cultural history calls into question our duty to past and future generations and the places we call home. And at this point, I already know that I'm going to order this book. This book is out on the 24th of April because, as I said, I am really into history, and the history of China really fascinates me. I've read a lot of books about China and about Asian culture in general, and I think educating yourself on different cultures is very important. And because this writer is exploring her ancestors' history and giving us this opportunity to learn more about her culture, I think it will be wonderful. And yes, I'm really excited about this one. The next book is Our Oaken Bones by Merlin Hanbury Tennyson. Grappling with PTSD and the devastation of a miscarriage, author Merlin Hanbury Tennyson and his wife Lizzie decided to leave London for Merlin's childhood home, a Cornish farm that borders an endangered rainforest. As the pair fall in love with their surroundings and recognize the healing power of nature, they begin to recognize their duty to protect it in this moving memoir that's perfect for fans of the Salt Path. I haven't read Salt Path, but the idea of connecting with nature and thinking about what impact we have on nature on us deeply resonates with me, so I think I might order this one, and this one is going to be out on the 20th of March. I think this book might speak to those who are into spiritual practices, into long walks in the forest, you know, and even the title of this book, Oaken Bones, reminds me of Mary Oliver, for example, who wrote a lot about nature. The next book is Hope by none other than Pope Francis. That rhymed. This book is actually out on the 14th of January, which is pretty soon. Hope is a groundbreaking memoir. Not only is it the first autobiography to be published by a pope, but it is also a fascinating piece of life writing in its own right. Pope Francis shares illuminating, sometimes funny anecdotes about his own life, while also writing candidly about some of the most pressing topics of our time, from women's rights, global conflict. This will undoubtedly be one of the most talked about memoirs of 2025. Even the Pope is writing a book. I mean, this one I gotta read. I got to read this book. The next book on this list is I Want to Talk to You by Diana Evans. In addition to being a critically acclaimed author, Diana Evans is a seasoned journalist whose writing has been published in The Guardian, The Financial Times, Elle, and more. The girl has it all. Girl is hustling. I Want to Talk to You sees this work collated for the first time, forming a varied collection of fascinating interviews ranging from Mariah Carey to Alice Walker, and columns that in turn paint a portrait of an evolving and revered cultural writer. This book is out on the 6th of February, and I always like a good interview. I think this might be a good collection, but first I think I'm going to read a couple of her pieces just to understand how does she present the information, what is her point of view, and what she's writing about. Next book is Open When by Dr. Julie Smith. She has a doctor in her name. It came out on the 2nd of January, so you can now go and buy it. In her latest book, she turns her attention to the moments when life gets complicated and difficult to navigate, dispensing her trademark no-nonsense advice to offer solutions to an array of commonly experienced issues and challenges. I must say, I am that one person who doesn't really like self-help books. You will not be able to force me to read any self-help book whatsoever. I am pretty prejudiced on that point. They always failed to catch my attention and catch my interest, really, and I always consider them a waste of time. So I may be prejudiced on that one. Yeah. The 24th book on this list is Love in Exile by Shawn Fay. I don't know. With her latest book, Shawn Fay, columnist and author of the Sunday Times bestseller The Transgender Issue, offers a thoughtful and candid meditation on love in all its forms. Fay reflects on her own obsession with and sometimes self-destructive pursuit of love, while also examining the societal forces that shape our assumptions and ideals. In doing so, she forms an insightful argument for making romantic love more inclusive for all. This is very interesting, and I think it's going to be in my to-be-read pile. pile. Next book is Story of a Murder by Hallie Rubenhold. In the 5, historian Hallie Rubenhold shone a fresh light on Jack the Ripper's infamous murders, focusing for the first time on the complex lives of his female victims. I know for sure that I'm going to add the 5 to my reading list this year. That sounds really interesting. In Story of a Murder, she re-examines another famed case, that of wife murderer Dr. Crippen. With her gift for addictive storytelling, Rubenhold again centers the women at the heart of the case, debunking common myths and offering a vivid snapshot of Edwardian society. Now this one, I'm going to read to my reading list tout de suite, because I love a good historical analysis of murder and of cases of murder. Not that I'm really into true crime stories, but I love when historian dealt with histories of murder. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really a fan of true crime TV shows or movies. That's not my cup of tea. But yes, I'm really hooked by this one. The 26th book on this list is We Were There by Lanre Bacare, and it's out on the 17th of April. Guardian culture correspondent Lanre Bacare charts the lives of Black Britons from the late 1970s to early 1990s, examining how they shaped modern culture, communities, and modes of resistance. Through the voices of feminists, Rastafarians, artists, and activists, this book reveals the rich tapestry of Black British culture in towns and cities across the country and establishes a timely, joyful, and compelling account of this significant chapter in the story of modern Britain. I am adding this to my list right this moment. This sounds fabulous. I know I'm going to have a great time, and again, this is a great opportunity to educate yourself on the Black resistance movement. Oh my god, I'm hooked. I'm excited for this book. Next book on this list is Who Wants Normal by Frances Ryan. As an award-winning journalist, Frances Ryan's work has been impactful in driving policy change and challenging social oppression. Who Wants Normal is both a memoir and a manifesto for change, with Ryan drawing from interviews and personal experiences to create an affirming, insightful exploration of life for women and non-binary people living with mental and physical health conditions. Again, just a great way to educate yourself in 2025. And this book is out on the 17th of April. Now, the next book is the one I least expected on this list, but also I most expected on this list. This book is by Bill Gates, entitled Source Code. What does it take to become a world-changing tech billionaire? In Source Code, Bill Gates answers this question by charting his own life story, from his Seattle childhood to the family that nurtured and pushed him, and his formative relationships with the three Steves, Jobs, Wozniak, and Ballmer. Gates shows how his early years laid the foundations of his illustrious career at the helm of Microsoft. I am not into biographies, especially by tech industry people. I'm not really into tech industry. I know nothing about it besides the fact that the new iPhone is out and that the presentation apparently was in September. Like, this is my level of understanding of the tech community. I want to know anything more about it. I want to be a part of it. I am good where I am. I have my own corner here. Not a book for me, but maybe people who are obsessed with reading about billionaires and their morning routines, maybe they will be obsessed with this book. So who knows? And the last book on this list, and the last book in the pile of nonfiction, is Frequently Happy by David Larby. In a world that feels gloomy and stressful, it is vital to be able to find joy and inspiration in the everyday. Internet poet David Larby embodies this philosophy. His TikTok videos break through the gloom, bringing sunshine to the lives of his many followers. When I see the sentence internet poet, I immediately get suspicious, so I'm not sure this is a book for me. I will stick to my Wordsworth and to my Frost, but if you like reading poetry, contemporary poetry, like, this book gives me Tumblr poetry vibes. No shade or anything, that's just the image I get from reading the synopsis. I think it really wants to appeal to a younger audience and to the audience who was on Tumblr during the years. So if you're into modern poetry, you're really welcome to read this one. I am not. As I said, I'll stick to my old guns. These were all the books that Penguin Books has recommended to us for the year of 2025. Maybe you found something you are interested in. Maybe you found a new book to add to your reading list. I hope this video inspired you to read more and to add more books to your reading list. I have very good feeling about this year in terms of reading. I'm really excited about the books I read. I've been reading a lot on my winter break and I could be excited to read more in 2025. Thank you for keeping me company. As always, I hope you had a wonderful day. I wish you all the best and bye!